Hello, friends. Welcome to another talk. I'm super excited to have Gus, a nice friend, and he works on Google, and he is very immersed into Python, ML, AI, and he's gonna tell us today a little bit about his journey and some advice for us to keep learning on AI. Gus, how are you? Let us know a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. Hi Leslie. Thanks for the invite. As Leslie mentioned, I work on as DevRel on Google AI. My job is basically helping developers and researchers and students, everyone, to use Google technology to make their life easier, improve their products, improve their services, all these kind of things. So my goal is to help you all to use our tech the best way possible. I try to do that by giving talks, talking to people in person, over video conference, writing blog post samples, all kinds of things. So this is basically a little bit of what I do on a daily basis. So it's a lot of stuff happening all the time. I'm very fortunate to be around some very smart people that writes amazing paper and content that's makes my life easier to find what to talk about. So that's always great.
Yeah, tell us how you got started in ML AI. How did you decide actually to keep this journey? And maybe for some people don't know what the DevRel is, just a short explanation about this. Thank you.
Of course. So I started in 2016, I would say. I was working as developer relations for another team, doing most of Android development. I joined Google because of Android development. I was talking to community and stuff, so I joined as developer relations. And in 2016, I started to look into more. Oh, this machine learning stuff looks nice, right? 2015, TensorFlow was open sourced, and so I start to uh, dig dig deeper into that to see, oh, how does this work? Because I when I left school, high school, college, right, I had one semester of artificial intelligence, but it was completely different, right? What we saw there was, well, we're talking about the early 2000s, right? So it was there was no, nothing like we have today. It was old stuff, and I wasn't the best student back then, so I don't remember that much. But it was completely different from what we see today. And I never really liked much. But when I start to see what you can do with deep learning and all this new tech, I thought, oh, this is amazing. I want to learn that. The fun thing is that I talked to my manager, say, hey, I think we should start talking about that. That was 2016, 17. He talked to his manager, and they come to the answer was no, we shouldn't talk about that. This is for PhD people, and I don't have a PhD, right? I have a master's, and that's not enough apparently. And then I said, okay, I will not do this as my job. I will do that as a side thing. And I start studying because we have a lot of resources internally, right? In Google, many courses. So I start to do those and start to learn by myself because I thought that was important, and in the end it was, because in 2019 I moved to the TensorFlow DevRel team, where I can do my stuff without being a PhD. Uh, Looking backwards, I'm very glad I did make this decision to start studying because I love the field. It's fascinating, right? There's new stuff literally every day. It's up to a level that's hard to keep up. I see people complain that, "Oh, it's hard to keep up." Yeah, it's hard to keep up. It's very hard to keep up. You have to choose a field and try to keep up at least on partially on that, but not on everything. You ask what is DevRel. So what does a developer relations do? Developer relations is the person that uh, usually has engineering, knows how to code, knows how to talk to people, knows how to write. It doesn't have to be good on any of those, but you have to be able to do all of them. So I'll give examples of things I do that DevRel does. So I talk to the community. I I write the narrative of products. So for example, if there's a new library, I would be a good person to write uh, what people should know and how to use that library. right? I am also the user zero, so whenever there's a new thing, we test it way before anyone else, so we see how things uh, are good or bad and try to improve those. I also write, of course, tutorials, blog posts, documentation, examples. I should in a term you end up being one of the experts on whatever tool you are advocating, because you see that every day. You bring feedback to the team. So I talk to the community, for example, talking to you here, and then you say, hey, I don't like this library because of A, B, and C. Uh, the thing is, I can maybe try to say, hey, okay, B, I agree, it's not great, but C, you should try using different. And then I'm helping someone and I'm getting helped also, because now there's this feedback I can take to the team. We can improve the product, or we can learn about new needs. So this is also another thing. I give talks and events. Some DevRel organize events. Some DevRel are more close to the community in terms of keeping the community together, making events to them, bringing content to them, so that they uh, leverage that and talk to more people. For example, Leslie here, if I talk to her, she can enable a whole country that I cannot speak to them because I don't speak Spanish. As simple as that, right? So she has, if I talk to her and I can help her learn something, and this can be spread to a. It's not a. It's if you think in terms of South America, she can talk to all countries except one, right? And that one is the one I can talk to because I speak Portuguese, right? So that's how the community can help. It can leverage uh, uh, knowledge and can take it to lots of people. So DevRel is the person that is looking into that. Uh, and one thing about DevRel is that your day is never something like, oh yeah, let me start my day and do this task. Every day I have a list of tasks that I want to, and some days I just scrap that and do things completely different because I receive an email or some bug or something, and then you have to redo all your scheduling. Sometimes you end up doing one of those tasks, sometimes you do more than those. So it's very dynamic. One thing I love is that I have the opportunity to learn something new very frequently. For example, when I was only developer, right? I had a product, I was working on that. You work on the same thing for maybe years, right? It's the same product. You are evolving the product. It's cool, but it's the same thing. And DevRel you can do that if you want, but if you want to also start working on another product, you can do. I work today with TensorFlow Hub, which is a model repository, and I also work with the people from TensorFlow Decision Force, which is the solution to do machine learning with structured data. And those are very different, right? Aside from the TensorFlow, they target completely different types of data, both of them. And so it's opportunity to learn a lot of stuff, and that's why one thing I love. And of course, I have my other side projects I was studying, for example, stable diffusion and data generation based on machine learning, which is not something I do for my work. It's just something that it's fun and I like reading about. But for example, I do that. I talk to people, and the fun thing is that I can. That's not my real, not my. I don't focus too much on it, like maybe 10% of my time, right? But this 10%, I can get to people and ask them questions and then learn and help them, even not doing a lot of it, right? So I did a lot of uh, communication internally about how can we do better in some certain products that are not my specificity, right? So you have a lot of opportunities. So DevRel is amazing. I would suggest everyone become DevRel, but then if everyone becomes DevRel, there are no more developers doing the product. Then DevRel has to do the product.
Yes,
But it's
thank you so
good,
much.
of
Yeah,
course.
I'm really interested. Well, I mean, I've been working sometime as DevRel as well, and I think it's really cool when you be like in between this community feedback at the same time at the product feedback, and you actually can be that voice to help the product become better as well for either side, right? For the company and the community. And it's nice. Something I like as well from there is like the content you can produce, like videos, tutorials, blogs. In my case, because I like teaching, so it's like really nice to try to explain in simple words maybe. But coming back to your experience or journey to ML and AI, you mentioned like in 2016, 17, you were focused or curious about how machine learning works and so on. Do you think still is good to be curious to start in artificial intelligence?
Oh, definitely. There's so the field today is very different from what it was in 2016, right? When I started, that's how people say, "Oh, it was all grass here, right now." But the fun thing is that when I started, it was already a lot of structure, right? Grass is in the 70s, right? But in 2015, 16, 17, it was things were still very hard, right? The first project I started doing was I did image recognition of, I don't have anyone here, Android figurines, right? Those small Android figurines. I did I trained my own model. I did transfer learning. This was 16, 17, right? So the tools to help you get there weren't there yet. So things were tricky. You have to read a lot. Today, to do transfer learning is very, very simple, very simple. And the next step I did was I did also object detection, which was put the squares around the because I create the data set so I could keep evolving. But then I wanted to put that on a phone and do on the phone, and I played a lot with that and was very hard for many reasons. And all those problems were kind of solved, right? Today is way easier to create an object detection model and deploy on a phone. You can do that in an afternoon, right? You of course you are limited by the data you have, which is always the case for machine learning. But if you have the data and you, oh, I have this data, I want to have this model running on a phone, you can do that in an afternoon. That we have tutorials to go from training the model to deploying to the phone to having nice, if not great performance. So this is on the web. So this is the kind of thing that evolved a lot in the last couple of years. If you want to start today, uh, it's always great to start because it's getting easier, I would say, to start because basically of the work of the DevRel of the community to make it more accessible.
And
For
you
example,
really don't need a PhD to start today.
exactly, exactly. And the fun thing, when I in 2016, 17, there was a video series was machine learning without a PhD, and it was by Martin Groner. I forgot his surname, and he works
Yeah.
here, right? He
Yeah, I
works in one of the teams.
remember. He
He's
was
such a
teaching.
nice
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, he's
Yes.
such a nice guy. And he did this series, and I watch, of course, all of it because I said, yeah, I want to learn that, and I don't have a PhD. That's exactly for me. And uh, uh, man, he's such a nice guy. And so today is way easier. There's a lot of good resources. There's one specific one. First of all, do you need to learn how to code? Uh, Probably yes, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that you might need to read, and it's in code, right? You need to learn, and then you would ask which language. I would say, as of today, Python is the one that makes your life easier. If you know any other, if you know how to code in any language, reading Python code is not too hard. Of course, there's some adaptation there, mainly when you deal with collections. Python has some very specific syntax that helps, but if you don't know, it's hard to understand. But it's not super hard. You can learn. But if you know Python, and then if you learn a little bit of statistics, you can start understanding machine learning. You can start learning, and there's a course for that called Machine Learning Crash Course. It's from Google. I can, of course, I'll share the link with Leslie. She can put on any description anywhere. So that course is like a couple of hours. It will go from zero to learning how something works, and that will give you a very good start on how neural networks work, mainly, right? That's mainly for, I guess it's the examples are all related to image if I'm not mistaken. This same website has lots of courses for data feature engineering, which is playing with your data to make it better. There's decision force, of course, which is another kind of machine learning algorithms. There is responsible AI. There is data preparation. There is there's one for problem framing, because one other thing you have to learn is, oh yeah, machine learning is amazing, but should you use this everywhere? The answer is probably no, right? There's places where I use machine learning because it shines. There are some places that regular classical programming will do better. There's places where machine learning can do better that you don't know yet. So there's the learning, it makes available a lot of new things for you. So of course, learning today is still valid. I highly recommend it, but it's the only problem of the field, what that I say, it's too fast, right? uh, you have to be prepared to learn again and again and again, always. That's already kind of the thing for classical programming, right? You cannot learn, oh, I learned Python, that's enough. That's not enough. In a couple of in 1 year there will be a new version of Python. In a couple of years, this new version of Python with new features become the default that everyone is using. And if you don't learn that, you cannot read code properly, because it's like programming is like it's different from regular language, right? Because if you don't know the latest slangs and stuff like that, you can still talk to people. In programming, after a while, you stop understanding what people are trying to say, right? Because the language evolves and evolves quite fast. So you have to keep studying. But machine learning evolves like what I knew about image classification in January this year. It's old already, because image classification evolved a lot this year, right? So that's just one example. So it's a field that you have to keep studying nonstop. But again, it's amazing, right? You see cool stuff every day. Yesterday, I was reviewing a presentation about stuff I can not even talk the content, right? But what I saw, I see machine learning every day, right? Every day I see what I saw yesterday. Was what? How can they do that? That's too advanced. And I was surprised. And look, look at this every day. Every day, it's my life, right? And I was absurdly surprised by the results that they showed. And I was, oh my god, it's amazing, right? Because it's like it's a great field. I highly recommend. Yes, go ahead and start it. Become good and talk to me. Bring your questions.
Yes, yes, totally. And yeah, I agree that still today, I mean, it's good to keep starting with AI. I think there is a lot of room for research, for practicing, for learning, for teaching. As you mentioned, many projects are coming up and surprising us in everything. You know, like I also been checking this daily, and also there was another AI. Oh
Stable
yeah,
diffusion.
and also the GPT-3 and a lot of things coming up that help us to understand how is going on on the technology side. And I think there's a room for everyone. And mostly, you know, as you mentioned, for Latin America and for many young people that want to start into technology, AI is always a good side. And what
And
else
there's
would?
one
Mhm.
aspect I would say that, for example, you said you're from Bolivia, right?
Yes.
So you see all these. First of all, when you start doing machine learning, you don't need to become a researcher. That's very different from a researcher do something, ML engineer do another thing, and there's the guy that is ML ops that do another thing. So there's a lot of stuff you can do around the machine learning. And we, of course, we see the researchers publishing papers and all. That's cool. You can do that, of course. But you don't need, first of all, you don't need to start there, right? And you don't need to even be there. I'm not a researcher. I don't see myself there. I see myself as someone that, oh, there's this new algorithm, this new technique. How can I apply this to a real problem in real life? And for example, the people from Bolivia, right? I have no idea what are the challenges you have. So who knows the challenge you have is you that live there. So when you understand the technology and you see, oh, we have here these challenges here. Maybe this technology can help. So that's one thing. So one thing, I am from Brazil, right? Brazil, we have also a big part of the Amazon, and one problem we have is how to monitor the Amazon so it doesn't burn down, right? People go there and burn it down. So it's very hard. I've thought about it hours and hours, because it's if you imagine the size of the how the it's not the frontier, the border of the forest, it's huge. It's nobody can look into that. So I'm always trying to think, how can machine learning help monitor that? Of course, that's not something I can do. That's not something Google can do. It's something a country has to do, right? Because it's different. But so that's one thing I keep thinking about, how can we do that better? And other things that are I pay a lot of attention nowadays is fusion, nuclear fusion. How can machine learning help that happen? Because when that happen, we will probably have energy for everyone, everywhere. And when we have energy for everyone, we unlock other stuff. So this is the kind of thing that, of course, researchers are looking to that, but we can also think about how can we improve our daily lives or our friends' daily lives with machine learning. That's what makes me absurdly excited about this field.
Yeah, and totally, I
You
think
agree?
as you mentioned,
Yes.
you can build like a mobile app related to email like in few hours or days, and you can start testing if some solution you're imagining can work. And I think that's what for me is one of the most exciting parts actually, that when as an engineer as well, like trying to find out solutions and as well trying to test them and trying to spread the word. And yeah, it's a lot of work there. And actually I think ML AI technology can help to, as you mentioned, improve and do other better to our communities as well.
I agree. And the sad part is that I was a good mobile developer, right? Maybe I was okay mobile developer. Let's be, I don't know. But today I'm a horrible mobile developer because I cannot keep track of everything that happens on Android
Oh
and
yeah.
everything that happens on machine learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I know how an app works. I don't know anymore the best practices there. So if I
Mm-hmm.
need to go build something, I'll have to study again and blah blah. That's what I told about keeping studying, right? The problem is that I cannot keep studying mobile development plus machine learning. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
I to be very sincere, I don't think anyone can, but I don't go into that. So anytime I need to deploy a model, I talk to my friends, say, "Hey, can you help me build a simple app here with the best practices?" And then I just do the machine learning part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that's man, it's I love this field. It's great.
Yeah, and also it's exciting that we can keep working on community and we help with the skills from other people and just to build something bigger, right? I think that's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, Gus, it's so nice to have a talk with you. I know you're very active as well in community on Twitter, always trying to help and trying to teach what we are needed, what we need, and mostly what is new. We need to keep update. And yeah, I would like to have some more final words about technology in general when people are trying to learn and they feel like it's too much. Yeah, for motivation.
So one thing I use to learn is, uh, for example, today if you start and you want to deploy a machine learning model on a phone, and you put the model there, it works, and then so nice. Now the following question is, okay, how does this work, right? So one thing that helped me learn is to start digging deeper into the problem, because sometimes you solve using a framework and blah blah blah, but then okay, what's happening here, and try to understand deeper and deeper. Of course, you go up to a level, there's a point where it gets too complex, but if you start to understand how things work deeper, it's better, because then there's no magic. So the idea is to remove the magic. Today, for example, you mentioned DALI, right? Or Stable Diffusion. That looks like magic, right? You type something, it will generate an image for you. That's magic. But you start to learn when you start to, okay, let me understand how this work. And then you start to learn piece by, because it's hard. It's not something trivial. There's a lot of research that got there. So you start to learn piece by piece until you get to a point, oh, nice, I know how this work. And that's important to important motivator, right? To make you improve in anything. I would say that for anything. It's not only machine learning. Android development, back-end development, web development. You start to why this works like this, and then you go deeper and deeper, and that's a very good thing. Of course, aside from practicing and keep learning, keeps reading. Uh, One thing is following people that are good in the field. I do that because then I read what they post. Sometimes I don't agree, sometimes I agree, but I'm trying to learn why when it's something related to machine learning, of course, not personal stuff. I don't care. But when it's technical stuff, I say, well, okay, why do they think that? Oh, this is a good idea. This is a good topic. So that keeps you, understanding and learning. So I guess my main tip is keep going after improving your crafts, your skills, right? Crafts your skills to uh, if you're going to feel better, right? When you see something, oh, I know how that works. That works because of A, B, and C, and that makes you feel more confident, makes you get feel better. Another cool thing that, of course, I would recommend is be part of the community. Uh, that made a big difference in my life. You go give a talk, for example, about a subject that you like. You get feedback from people. You learn how to speak to more people. You learn how to create a presentation, how to um, how to prepare for a presentation. So this kind of thing, be part of the community is like a superpower, right? You meet a lot of people, you learn. I have friends that I made because of going to events, right? That I still talk to them, even though we live far or some live close. But you keep in touch with these people, right? They become your friends. So community is amazing. I would strongly recommend that. It makes life way easier, and it's almost like cheating. It makes way easier everything else.
Great. So we need to keep learning, to keep reading, and keep ourselves motivated about the projects, the things we want to keep learning. And also communities are super, super important. Thank you so much, Gus, for
Of
your
course.
time and for sharing such an interesting and important things for us. And hope we can talk another time soon.
Thank you very much, and of course, feel free to contact anytime. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. I'm very glad with this.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye
Bye.
bye.